In the past 12 months, we reported on the re-election of Governor Stitt, the impact of drought in our state, COVID releasing its grip on everyday life in Oklahoma, and dozens of other impactful stories. Tonight, we're going to look back on some of those reports, beginning with a battle over abortion, a battle that is guaranteed to remain a hot topic heading into 2023. And with more on that, we're joined by Jason Doyle.
Rich, the first week of May began with a shocking revelation. The leak of a Supreme Court draft decision appearing to overturn Roe v. Wade. At the same time, the Oklahoma legislature and Governor Kevin Stitt were working to pass laws further restricting abortion in our state.
We want Oklahoma to be the most pro-life state in the country.
Nearly a month ago, when Governor Kevin Stitt made that statement as he signed Senate Bill 612, making it a felony to perform an abortion in Oklahoma, no one knew that the U.S. Supreme Court was on the verge of overturning Roe v. Wade. An unprecedented leak of Justice Samuel Alito's draft decision on a Mississippi abortion case changed all that on Tuesday.
In terms of a draft opinion, it's unprecedented. Not in modern history and not in the Supreme Court's long 200-year history from what I know.
Professor Joseph Tye knows a thing or two about the Supreme Court. He was a law clerk to the late Justice John Paul Stevens and the late Justice Byron White, who was actually on the bench at the time Roe v. Wade was decided in 1973. Now that the secrecy of the Supreme Court justices' deliberations has been disrupted, trust among justices and their law clerks is suspect.
No one is above suspicion now because there are motives, good and bad, for both sides of Roe v. Wade to leak internally.
Tye adds the timing of the leak is interesting.
Because the case was argued in early December, Alito's draft was circulated internally in February. 2 months later, we have the leak, not in February, and not, the opinion, the decision will be handed down by the end of June. So we're sort of in between the first draft and the final decision. Why now?
Now that Justice Alito's draft decision has been made public, states are starting to align themselves with either pro-life or pro-choice initiatives, including the state of Oklahoma.
The prospect is thrilling.
Representative Jim Olson is a staunch proponent for pro-life measures. He's the House author of the recently signed Senate Bill 612. He also wrote House Bill 1102, which revokes a physician's license for performing a non-life-saving abortion. Governor Stitt signed that into law late last month. Despite the recent momentum gained for pro-life causes in Oklahoma and around the nation, Olson is cautiously optimistic about what the draft decision could mean.
Things could possibly change, but it does look like there's a good chance of that happening. This will be great news to save thousands and eventually millions of lives.
Not everyone is happy about the leak.
Of course, we're devastated by the potential impact of this being a published decision.
Well, disappointed and devastated, ACLU Oklahoma Executive Director Tamaya Cox-Torre says it isn't a surprise.
We've been anticipating this day for, a while, and to see it on paper is unfortunate.
Also on Tuesday, Governor Stitt signed another piece of legislation to limit abortions in Oklahoma. Senate Bill 1503 is called the Oklahoma Heartbeat Act.
Civil liability according to the pattern of the Texas law. So we would hit it from the standpoint of civil liability, not criminal, from that bill.
With the Supreme Court leak and the Oklahoma legislature passing several pro-life bills, pro-choice advocates are trying to figure out the way forward for their cause.
I think all of us are really trying to scramble to figure that out. It's important to know that just last week, the Center for Reproductive Rights, as well as Planned Parenthood, filed a lawsuit against two anti-abortion bills that were signed into law or making its way into law just last week, just last Thursday. So we're trying to figure out what the impact and the effects of those lawsuits are.
As for the impact, if Roe v. Wade is overturned later this year, Professor Tye says it could reach into other aspects of our lives.
It's no exaggeration to say that this could be a seismic shift in modern constitutional law. Most recently, extending the right of marriage to same-sex couples, the right to contraception recognized in 1965, even interracial marriage, which was recognized as protected by the Constitution in 1967.
Oklahoma is one of 13 states which had triggers within legislation restricting abortion. So when the Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Clinic decision was handed down in June, many of our pro-life laws went into effect.
Oklahoma is now considered one of the most pro-life states in the country, and much of it is due to legislation passed over the last 2 sessions.
The Oklahoma legislation that the governor signed and the House and the Senate passed prevents abortions once there's fertilization, except to save the life of the mother, or in the case of reported to law enforcement rape or incest.
One of those laws makes it a felony to perform an abortion in the state. Another law is modeled after the Texas abortion law, allowing citizens to file a civil lawsuit if they learn of an abortion performed in Oklahoma. But unlike the Texas law, Oklahoma's law is effective at conception.
And under our laws, there are criminal penalties, there are civil penalties. We don't make anything criminal against the mother, just the providers or others who aid or abet the abortion.
Senator Shane Jett is a major pro-life proponent and believes lawmakers made the right decision by advancing pro-life legislation before the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade.
With the Supreme Court reversing its wrong decision from 1973, we've affirmed that life starts at conception and it starts in the womb, and you are a human being. You're not a sheep, you're not a puppy, you're a human being, and you're in the United States and you're afforded those protections. So it's a felony for you to kill an adult. It's now a felony for you to kill a baby that's in the mother's womb.
He also believes the legislature did the right thing by not allowing for prosecutions of the mother.
By not criminalizing the mother, I think is the right thing to do, because that mother's already in crises. That mother already has some really difficult decisions to make.
Jett says work should focus on finding ways to support mothers in crisis to have the child instead of an abortion.
We need to come in and surround that mother with love, support, and whatever assistance is necessary so that it's easy to choose life and not difficult. I ran some legislation where I tried to offset the cost, incredibly expensive to have a baby, try to offset that to underscore being pro-life must be more than shaming somebody for being in crises.
He's looking to reform the tax code to help with expenses related to having a child.
What I would look at is tax deductions on state and federal income taxes that allow them to deduct the cost of bringing a baby into Oklahoma.
Despite efforts to assist expectant mothers, House Democrat Caucus Chair Representative Cindy Munson believes the restrictions on abortions in Oklahoma actually could threaten the life of the mother.
We are still creating a lot of danger for her life because she cannot access the care that she needs. And so while you may not be criminalizing her, you are putting her at great risk of serious health issues and possibly death.
Munson notes the state might not be criminalizing mothers for having an abortion, but they are criminalizing those who offer the service.
It's pretty clear just based on the AG's response and the governor and the leaders of the House and the Senate that they are interested in criminalizing physicians. They're interested in criminalizing anybody who helps a mother or a woman access abortion care.
Those who support abortion rights also believe those who are against it are not done.
What we've saw in this decision and what we've known here in Oklahoma is that this is not the end for anti-choice activists and legislators. We saw even in Justice Thomas' concurring opinion that we should not think that contraception or even marriage equality is not on the chopping block next.
Lawsuits have been filed against Oklahoma's current abortion restriction laws. ACLU of Oklahoma Executive Director Tamaya Cox-Ture feels that could provide a way forward for abortion services to resume in Oklahoma.
More importantly, we have to recognize that there is still a path to victory. It's a long path, and we know we're not going to get it back tomorrow, but we still have 3 lawsuits pending in front of the Oklahoma State Supreme Court. So there's a very possible that our Oklahoma State Supreme Court could find that there's a right to an abortion.
She feels voters also could impact laws by taking matters into their own hands.
There's an initiative petition process that could be available to Oklahomans that states that there's a right to an abortion.
She adds organizations like the ACLU of Oklahoma and the Center for Reproductive Rights will continue to push back against the reversal of Roe versus Wade.
We will still continue to fight just as hard as we did yesterday to ensure that people get the health care that they need. we believe we have a duty and obligation to do that.
But I expect that Oklahoma's law will be challenged by Planned Parenthood and others, and frankly, I consider it an honor to defend those bills.
Attorney General John O'Connor says the state will vigorously protect the pro-life laws in court.
If you run a red light and you hit a van and the driver of that van is a lady and she's pregnant, you can be prosecuted in Oklahoma for 2 manslaughters.
Munson expects to see more pro-life related bills proposed when the legislature returns to session next year.
So I think that we will see an influx of legislation in the coming months. You know, we can file and work on bills right now, and I think you will see some of that within the interim and definitely as we get closer to the next legislative session.
However, she still believes most Oklahomans do not want a total ban on abortion.
I have heard from numerous Republican women who claim themselves to be pro-life and have said, you know, the state legislature and of course the Supreme Court have gone way too far. And this isn't fair and it's not right. Recent polling has shown that over 54% of Oklahomans do not want a total ban on abortion. And that includes Democrats, Republicans, men, and women.
A group supporting abortion rights had plans for an initiative petition to put those rights in our state constitution. They have withdrawn that state question recently.